coup attempt is taking place in Sudan. The Armed Forces Ministry has said in a statement that the army has detained the civilian Prime Minister, Abdullah Hamdok, and taken him to an unidentified location. Social media shows images of several cabinet ministers from the transitional government, the Sovereign Council, being arrested. Internet links have been cut.
Tensions are rising in Khartoum. Internet connectivity was shut down, and we are hearing now that mobile connectivity has also been cut off. People have been asked to come out, pro-democracy demonstrators, asked by the groups that have been leading them. These are the same groups that held protests that led to the overthrow of long-serving President Omar al-Bashir in 2019. They have been coming out in large numbers to the streets of Khartoum to protest against what they call a military coup. And they're saying that they're resisting any attempt by the military to take over power.
I can tell you that the announcement is a call for tenders, so that's absolutely the last stage. These are going to be built. 1,300 homes in 7 settlements across the occupied West Bank. It's the first time since Joe Biden was elected president in the United States 9 months ago. He's known to be a proponent of peace talks and opponent of unilateral steps by Israel. It's interesting also in terms of internal Israeli politics. You'll remember this is a new government, a broad coalition, left-wing and right-wing, and the deal was that there would be no political steps. This government would govern inside Israel only, internal only, if you like. And we are seeing the impact of a right-wing prime minister because this is being pushed through nevertheless.
China is facing its worst power shortage in 10 years. Local media has reported that China has increased electricity imports from countries like Myanmar and North Korea. According to the South China Morning Post, customs data showed that while China doesn't import that much power from North Korea, its electricity imports in September jumped to almost 36,000 megawatt hours, up 62% from the same period last year. By the first 3 quarters of this year, China had imported more than $11.9 million of electricity from North Korea. It also increased its electricity imports from Myanmar by 44% in the first 3 quarters of this year compared to the same period in 2020.
Well, 2.5 years trial and a historic verdict, with this sentence historic because this is the first time that an individual is condemned for war crimes against a member of the Yazidi community. Jennifer Venish is a 30-year-old German woman who had joined the Islamic State back in 2014 via Turkey, then via Syria. She was living in Mosul with her husband, who's an Iraqi fighter for the Islamic State group, and in 2015 they had purchased the mother of that Yazidi girl and the little girl on the slave market. She is also sentenced today for enslavement, but first and foremost for having done nothing to prevent the death of this little girl, a 5-year-old girl who was chained up in a courtyard under a scorching heat.
Police in the East German state of Brandenburg say they've prevented a far-right group of vigilantes from patrolling the Polish border. The small group had gathered near the city of Guben, and police say they'd come from states across the country in order to answer a call from an extreme right-wing party. 50 expulsion orders were issued and criminal proceedings initiated for those carrying illegal weapons or those displaying the insignia of anti-constitutional organisations. Last week, the German government said it wanted to introduce border patrols in association with Poland to help curb migration.
Relations between Azerbaijan and Iran remain tense. Iran is highly critical of Azerbaijan's ties to Israel, which provides it with weapons. The relationship is strained, and there are reports that the Azeris have shut down all websites which disseminate pro-Iranian content in the country.
I believe at this point we have to assume the Islamic Republic of Iran, Iranian politicians, basically exaggerating Israeli threats, Israeli relations, Israeli presence in Azerbaijan, for one reason, which they cannot openly speak about Turkey. I'm saying here it depends on what policy Mr. Erdogan in Turkey has been adopting towards Azerbaijan.
A container fire off the coast of British Columbia, Canada, appears to be under control. That's according to Canadian Coast Guard Commander J.J. Brickett on Sunday.
The company itself is reporting that the majority of the fire is actually out. We still see it smoldering. What they were attempting to do is let the fire burn down. In other words, the container consume itself with the fuel while keeping everything else around it cool so they wouldn't ignite. When we are looking at the imagery, we can't see any scorching or charring of those adjacent containers. That's a really good sign.
In a statement earlier on Sunday, the company that manages the container ship, Dano Shipping, said no injuries had been reported. 16 crew members were evacuated from the MV Zim Kingston after the fire broke out earlier in the weekend, while 5 remained on board to fight the fire. Tugboats were seen spraying water around the fire to contain it. The ship is anchored several miles off the southern coast of Vancouver Island. Officials have ensured that residents are safe and commercial ports are still in operation.